The crystal flute shattered against the marble floor like a gunshot in the hush of the ballroom. Champagne spraying in a wild arc that soaked the front of Ethan's tailored tuxedo. Alex froze, his heart slamming against his ribs. The room's murmur dying into stunned silence as every eye turned to the intruder who'd just upended the night. "Oh God, I'm so sorry, sir. I didn't mean," he stammered. But Ethan's hand shot out, steadying him with a grip that was firm, unyielding, and inexplicably warm. Their eyes locking in a collision that felt less like accident and more like fate crashing down. Alex Rivera had never belonged in a place like this. The grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel in Manhattan glittered like a fever dream of excess. Chandeliers dripping with crystal that caught the light and hurled it back in 1,000 prisms. Tables groaning under silver-domed chafing dishes of foie gras and truffle-laced caviar. And waitstaff in crisp black livery gliding like ghosts through a sea of designer gowns and bespoke suits. It was the annual holiday gala for Sterling Dynamics, one of those tech giants that powered half the apps on your phone without you ever knowing their name. Alex was here by sheer dumb luck, or maybe desperation. His roommate, Javier, had scored an invite as a junior developer and begged Alex to cover for him. Javier's abuela had taken a bad fall back in Queens, and family came first. "Just smile, nod, and don't touch anything," Javier had joked over lukewarm ramen the night before. But Alex, scraping by on barista shifts and the occasional gig walking dogs in the village, figured what was one night in a penguin suit? A chance to pocket a few extra tips from the tipsy elite, maybe even snag a real job lead. He hadn't counted on the wrong turn at the coat check, or the velvet rope he ducked under thinking it led to the service bar. Now here he was, glass shards crunching under his scuffed loafers, the CEO of Sterling Dynamics, Ethan Hale himself, staring down at the wet bloom staining his shirt like some abstract Rorschach of ruin. Ethan was a legend in whispers. The wunderkind who'd bootstrapped the company from a garage in Silicon Valley to a Wall Street behemoth, all sharp jawline and sharper mind. The kind of man who graced Forbes covers with that half-smile that said he knew your secrets before you did. Up close, he was taller than Alex expected, broad-shouldered under the Armani, with eyes like winter sky over Central Park. Clear, cutting, and impossible to look away from. "Easy there," Ethan said, his voice low and steady, laced with that California drawl softened by years in the East. He didn't pull away. If anything, his fingers tightened on Alex's wrist, a lifeline in the chaos. "It's just champagne. Builds character." A ripple of laughter broke the tension, tentative at first, then swelling as the party's pulse resumed. Someone, a harried event coordinator with a clipboard, swooped in with a towel, but Ethan waved her off, still holding Alex's gaze. "You look like you've seen a ghost. First time crashing a party like this." Alex swallowed, heat flooding his face. Lie or truth? The borrowed tux itched at the collar, a size too big from Javier's thrift store haul, and he could feel the eyes boring in, judgment from the crystal-clutching socialites, amusement from the tech bros nursing $100 scotch. "Not crashing, exactly. Subbing for a friend. I'm Alex Rivera, sir." He extended his free hand awkwardly, the one not pinned, and Ethan released him to shake it, their palms brushing in a spark that had nothing to do with static. "Ethan," and dropped the "sir." "Makes me feel like I'm at a board meeting." He glanced down at the mess, then back up, his smile crooked, genuine in a way that twisted something low in Alex's gut. "Tell you what, Alex Rivera, you've just baptized me in vintage Dom Perignon. Least you can do is join me for the toast. My table's over there." He nodded toward the head table, elevated on a dais like a throne room, ringed by the company's inner circle. VPs in Rolexes, a senator nursing a cigar, the works. Alex's brain short-circuited. "Me? At your table? I mean, I'm just—" The coordinator was hissing now, tugging at his elbow, but Ethan's look silenced her mid-breath. "He's with me," Ethan said simply, and it was done. No questions, no fuss. Just those 4 words, carrying the weight of command that came from building empires. As they wove through the crowd, Alex's pulse thrummed like the bass from the jazz quartet in the corner, Ella Fitzgerald crooning, "Have yourself a merry little Christmas," with a velvet ache. Heads turned, whispers trailing like tinsel. Who was this kid? Some intern? A date? Alex caught fragments. Hale's latest charity case? From a woman in emerald sequins, her laugh sharp as broken glass. He wanted to bolt. Back to the safety of his walk-up in Bushwick where the radiator clanked like an old friend and the only drama was whether the bodega had fresh eggs. But Ethan's hand grazed the small of his back, guiding him up the steps, and damn if it didn't feel like stepping into sunlight after a month of rain. The table was a spread of opulence. Name cards etched in gold, centerpieces of blood-red poinsettias and flickering votives. Ethan pulled out a chair, not the one at the far end, but right beside his own, displacing a silver-haired exec who blinked but said nothing. "Everyone, this is Alex," Ethan announced as they settled, his tone light but brooking no interruption. "He's the reason I'll remember this party. Alex, meet the wolves. Lydia Chun, our CFO. Don't let the smile fool you. She eats startups for breakfast. Marcus, head of R&D, the man who thinks AI dreams in binary." Handshakes were exchanged, polite but probing, eyes flicking over Alex's tie. Javier's? A clip on that screamed amateur. Lydia leaned in, her perfume floral and fierce. "So, Alex, what brings a fresh face to our den? Intern? Venture scout?" "Neither," Alex said, forcing a grin as a server poured him bubbly that fizzed like his nerves. "Just a barista with a knack for spills. But hey, if you're hiring taste testers for that AI coffee machine, I'm your guy." Laughter rippled, warmer than he'd expected, and Ethan watched him with that steady gaze, like he was memorizing every line. The toast came, Ethan rising with effortless grace, glass raised. To Sterling Dynamics, where code meets chaos, and sometimes the best bugs lead to breakthroughs. Eyes met over rims, and when Ethan sat, his knee brushed Alex's under the tablecloth, lingering a beat too long. Accidental? Alex's breath hitched, a flush creeping up his neck. He wasn't imagining it. The air between them hummed, charged like the storm brewing outside the frosted windows. Dinner blurred into a haze of small talk and small bites. Seared scallops that melted like snow, conversations veering from quarterly projections to the latest Broadway flop. Alex held his own, cracking wise about the time his espresso machine rebelled and flooded the cafe, earning a genuine guffaw from Marcus. But it was Ethan's attention that anchored him, questions probing gentle but deep. "Bushwick, huh? What's the best street art down there these days? Family?" When Alex mentioned his mom in Puerto Rico, wiring every penny she could spare, and his dad long gone to find himself in Florida dive bars, Ethan's expression softened, a shadow crossing his features. "Mine's the same," Ethan murmured during a lull. When the others had drifted to the dance floor, the quartet had swung into winter wonderland, couples swaying under the mistletoe-draped arches. "Dad bailed when I was 12. Mom raised me on waitressing tips and sheer spite. Taught me everything worth knowing about grit." Alex nodded, the shared ache bridging the chasm between them. Their worlds, so vast yet tethered by that invisible thread of survival. "Grit's a hell of a teacher. Keeps you swinging when you'd rather fold." Ethan's eyes held his, something raw flickering there. "It does. But it gets lonely up here." He gestured vaguely at the dais, the empire beyond. Then, softer, "Dance with me?" It wasn't a question, not really. Alex's heart stuttered. Dance? With him? In front of all this? But the pull was magnetic, and before doubt could root, Ethan was on his feet, offering a hand. The floor was a whirl of silk and cologne, but as they moved into it, the crowd parted like water. Ethan's hand at his waist was sure, guiding without crowding, their steps sinking to the sway of strings and brass. Alex wasn't a dancer. His moves were salsa from backyard barbecues, not this foxtrot elegance. But Ethan led with patience, a quiet laugh when Alex stepped on his toe. "You're a natural liar," Ethan teased, breath warm against his ear as they turned. "This isn't your first rodeo. Only if you count dodging subway rats as footwork." Alex grinned, emboldened by the proximity, the way Ethan's thumb traced a subtle circle at his hip. The room spun in a kaleidoscope of lights, But all Alex saw was the man before him, vulnerable in the vulnerability he let slip, like a crack in armor forged from boardrooms and betrayals. As the song faded, Ethan didn't let go. "Walk with me?" The terrace. "Too stuffy in here." They slipped out a side door, the December chill slapping like a wake-up call. Snow dusted the railing, the city a glittering sprawl below. Empire State pulsing red and green, taxis honking faint hymns to the night. Ethan shrugged off his jacket, draping it over Alex's shoulders without a word. It smelled of sandalwood and success, heavy with lining that whispered of cashmere. "Why me?" Alex asked finally, voice small against the wind. "You could have had security toss me, or just laughed it off." Ethan leaned on the balustrade, exhaling a plume that curled like smoke. "Because you looked at me like I was human, not the logo on your phone. And honestly, that spill was the most real thing that's happened to me all year." He turned, eyes searching. "Tell me something true, Alex. No polish." Alex hesitated. Then, "I came here tonight thinking I'd steal a bread roll or two for tomorrow's lunch. Mom's remittance barely covers the rent." Ethan's jaw tightened, not in pity, but recognition. "I get it. Started with nothing, clawed up. But up here's a different kind of nothing." A pause, then stay. "After the party's over, let me show you the city like it should be seen." The offer hung, fragile as the snowflakes melting on Alex's lashes. Say yes, and what? A night? A dream? Or the start of something that could shatter them both? Inside, the band struck up Blue Christmas, and Alex felt the first pang of what might come. A heart too full, too soon, in a world that chewed up hope like tinsel under heels. The after-party hum had mellowed to a contented buzz by midnight. The diehards clustered in leather armchairs nursing digestives while the jazz quartet packed up their stands. Alex lingered at the edge of it all, jacket still draped over his arm like a talisman, watching Ethan work the room with that effortless charisma, clapping a VP on the back, murmuring strategy to Lydia over espresso martinis. Every so often, their eyes would find each other across the crush, a silent tether pulling taut. Alex's phone buzzed in his pocket. A text from Javier. "Abuela's stable. You survived the wolves? Spill." He typed back a thumbs-up emoji, but his thumbs trembled. Survive? He was drowning deliciously in the what-ifs. When Ethan finally extricated himself, it was with a nod toward the exit. Ready to trade caviar for real New York? No limo, no fuss. Just the two of them stepping into the flurry outside, snow whipping in gusts that stung like tiny accusations. Ethan flagged a yellow cab with a whistle that echoed his valley roots, and they piled in, the heater blasting welcome warmth as the driver merged into the holiday snarl on Fifth Avenue. "Lower East Side," Ethan directed, then to Alex. "Ever had pastrami at 2 a.m. that tastes like redemption?" Alex chuckled, the sound easing the knot in his chest. "Katz's? You're spoiling me, Hale. Next you'll say you know the secret handshake for Kronitz." "Guilty, but only the good kind." The cab lurched through red lights strung with garlands, the city alive in its nocturnal frenzy, skaters twirling under the Rockefeller tree on a distant screen, vendors hawking roasted chestnuts that perfumed the air. Ethan leaned back, loosening his tie with a sigh. Truth? These galas. They're theater. Everyone playing parts. Tonight you crashed the stage. Made it fun. Fun's one word for it. Alex fiddled with the jacket cuff, too long on his wrist. "I'm still waiting for the punchline. Poor kid from the wrong side meets the kingpin. Hallmark's got scripts for this." Ethan's laugh was low, genuine. "Hallmark ends with a kiss under the tree. Real life's Messier." He paused, gaze drifting to the window where lights smeared like watercolor. "Had a guy once. Thought he was the plot twist. Turned out he was the villain. Sold company secrets to a rival for a corner office. Left me picking up the pieces, wondering if trust was just another boardroom buzzword." The confession landed soft, heavy as the snow piling on the curb. Alex turned, studying the lines etched around Ethan's eyes, not from age, but the weight of wars won alone. "That sucks. The kind of suck that makes you build walls higher than firewalls." Exactly. Ethan met his eyes, the cab's dome light casting shadows that softened the edges. But walls crack. Tonight's proof. They pulled up to Katz's, the neon sign a beacon in the storm, and tumbled out into the cold, shoulders brushing as they dashed inside. The counter was a riot of Formica and Yiddish banter, the air thick with brine and smoke. Ethan ordered for them pastrami on rye, extra mustard, Dr. Brown sodas, and they claimed a sticky booth in the back, the kind where lovers had carved initials decades ago. The sandwich was heaven. Fatty, salty slabs piled high, bread seeded and soft. Alex moaned around the first bite, unself-conscious, and Ethan's grin was boyish, unguarded. See? Empire building starts with this. Between bites, stories spilled like the mustard on the wax paper. Alex talked about growing up in the Bronx, dodging truancy officers to bust tables at his uncle's diner. The ache of holidays when mom's calls from San Juan crackled with static and unsaid sacrifices. Christmas was always luminarias on the fire escape and a single gift, usually socks. But she'd make them feel like gold. Ethan nodded, chasing his bite with a swig of celery soda. Mine was string lights on a ficus and mom's shift at the diner till dawn. We'd split a candy cane and call it feasting. He set the sandwich down, fingers lingering on the edge. After the breakup, I stopped celebrating. Too many ghosts in the eggnog. The vulnerability hung there, inviting. Alex reached across, tentative, covering Ethan's hand with his own. Calloused barista palm against manicured executive. Skin on skin, pulse to pulse. Ghosts fade. Make new ones. Ethan's thumb stroked the back of Alex's hand. Slow, deliberate, careful. You might volunteer for haunting duty. The air thickened, charged with the unsaid. Outside, a plow rumbled by, but in that booth, time bent. When they finished, Ethan paid with a flourish, slipping the waitress $100 for the best damn cure for a long night, and they stepped back into the wideout, arms linked against the wind. From there, it was a wander. Down Rivington Street, past graffiti murals that bloomed vivid under street lamps, snow muting the city's roar to a hush. Ethan pointed out his old haunt, a dive bar where he'd coded his first app on a borrowed laptop, while Alex shared tales of rooftop parties with Javier, sneaking 40s and dreaming of escape. Laughter came easy, barriers crumbling with each step, until they found themselves on a bench in Sarah D. Roosevelt Park, the swings creaking empty nearby. Ethan pulled a flask from his inner pocket. Single malt, smooth as sin, and they passed it, the burn chasing the chill. To wrong tables, Ethan toasted, clinking the invisible glass. To spills that stick. Alex's voice was husky, the scotch loosening the last knots. He leaned in, drawn by the heat radiating from Ethan, the way his breath fogged the space between. Their lips met tentative at first. A brush, testing, then deepening as snowflakes tangled in their hair. It was salt and sweetness, pastrami and possibility. Ethan's hand cupping Alex's jaw with a tenderness that belied his boardroom steel. The kiss stretched, world narrowing to the press of bodies, the faint jingle of distant bells. When they broke, foreheads touching, Ethan whispered, "Come home with me, not for the view, for this." Alex's yes was a breath, a leap. The cab ride uptown was a blur of stolen touches, hands interlaced on the seat. Ethan's penthouse atop a glass tower in Midtown was a study in modern minimalism. Floor-to-ceiling windows framing the skyline like a private aurora. Leather sofas soft as whispers. A Christmas tree in the corner strung with white lights and a single ornament. A faded paper star, edges curled from years. They shed coats and shoes in the foyer, moving to the terrace where heated floors defied the frost. Wrapped in a throw blanket that smelled of him, they stood shoulder to shoulder, city lights winking like conspirators. "This is insane," Alex murmured, head on Ethan's shoulder. "Yesterday I was fighting roaches. Today this. Insane's underrated." Ethan's arm tightened around him. "Stay through the holidays? I could use a co-conspirator." The offer was a gift, wrapped in risk. Alex thought of Javier's empty bed, the unanswered job apps, the life waiting like a shadow. But here, in this man's orbit, he glimpsed a different script. One where poor boys wrote their own endings. As dawn bled pink over the East River, they retreated inside, curling on the sofa to the murmur of a forgotten radio crooning carols. Sleep came in fits, dreams laced with champagne and stolen kisses, but beneath it all, a whisper of caution. Empires rose on trust, but they fell on betrayal. And in the quiet, Alex wondered if he was ready for the fall. Morning brought coffee brewed strong in a machine that probably cost more than his rent, and pancakes from a recipe Ethan swore was his mom's. Fluffy, dotted with blueberries, served on the terrace with the snow paused, world holding its breath. They ate in companionable silence at first, then words tumbling. Dreams deferred, fears unspoken. Ethan confessed the loneliness of the climb, the parade of yes men, the parade of dates that fizzled into transactions. After him, my ex. I swore off the heart stuff. Safer that way. Alex nodded, fork midway. Safer's lonely too. But worth it? That's the gamble. Their eyes met, packed sealed in the steam rising from mugs. The day unfolded lazy. A walk in Central Park, boots crunching virgin snow, hands swinging linked. They fed the ducks stale bread from a vendor, laughed at a street performer's juggling act gone awry, shared a hot cider that scalded sweet. By evening, back in the penthouse, Ethan pulled out photo albums, dusty relics of a boy with braces and boundless ambition, and Alex traced the path from there to here, fingers lingering on images of a younger Ethan, eyes already fierce with fire. That night, as carols drifted from the radio, they made love. Not frantic, but slow, reverent, bodies mapping uncharted territories with whispers and sighs. It was connection, raw and real, sealing the fragile bond they'd forged in one chaotic night. But as Alex drifted to sleep in Ethan's arms, the city humming beyond the glass, he didn't see the email pinging on Ethan's phone across the room. From a ghost named Riley, ex-betrayer, now circling back with honeyed words and hidden knives. The storm wasn't over. It had only just begun. The week blurred into a holiday haze, days bleeding into nights in a rhythm that felt stolen from someone else's life. Ethan had cleared his calendar, canceled a Tokyo trip, delegated the post-gala fallout to Lydia with a memo that read like poetry. Handle the wolves. I'm human this week. Alex texted Javier a vague extended vaki, details later, and dove in heart first. They decorated the tree properly, stringing lights with care, Ethan admitting with a sheepish grin that he'd never bothered before. Too busy conquering. Alex hung the paper star at the top, a totem against the cynicism creeping at the edges. Mornings were for markets. Union Square's Green Market, where they haggled over wreaths and sampled cheeses that tasted of pastures Alex had only read about. Afternoons wandered, MoMA's halls, whispering over Rothkos that bled emotion onto canvas. Ice skating at Woolman Rink, where Ethan, surprisingly graceless, clung to Alex like a lifeline, their laughter echoing off the boathouse. Evenings were intimate. Takeout from hole-in-the-walls Ethan swore by, dim sum in Chinatown, knishes from a cart on Broadway, eaten cross-legged on the floor, trading stories till the witching hour. But cracks spiderwebbed in the idyll subtle at first. Ethan's phone would buzz during a shared silence, and he'd silence it with a flick, jaw tightening like a locked vault. Work, he'd say, but his eyes would distant, chasing shadows Alex couldn't name. One night, over mulled wine by the fire he'd coaxed to life. Real logs, a rarity in his gas log world. Alex pressed gentle. That email the other morning. Everything good. Ethan set his mug down, the clink loud in the quiet. Riley, my ex thinks 'tis the season for apologies. He ran a hand through his hair, silver threads catching the flame. Sold me out 2 years back. Leaked prototypes to Vantage Corp for a 7-figure signing bonus. Left me testifying in depositions while he jetted to Dubai. Alex winced, the betrayal a gut punch by proxy. And now, what's he want? Forgiveness? A sequel? A job? Ethan's laugh was bitter, hollow. Says he's changed. Reformed hacker. Ready to give back. He air-quoted with disdain. I forwarded it to legal. End of story. But it wasn't. The messages escalated. Voicemails Alex overheard in snippets. Riley's voice smooth, contrite, laced with that old intimacy. Miss you. Let's talk. For old times. Ethan deleted them, but the poison seeped, manifesting in late-night pacing. Ethan's silhouette stark against the skyline. Alex felt it too. A third wheel in their bubble. The ghost, whispering doubts. Was this real, or just holiday magic, destined to dissolve come January? Christmas Eve dawned brittle, a nor'easter dumping 6 inches by noon. They hunkered in, baking cookies from a recipe Alex pulled from memory, polverons, sandy and cinnamon-dusted, the kitchen a flour-dusted war zone. Ethan, sleeves rolled, proved a disaster with the rolling pin, dough sticking like glue. I'm better at algorithms than this alchemy, he grumbled, but his eyes danced, flour smudged on his cheek like war paint. Alex swiped it away with his thumb, lingering. Stick with me. I'll teach you the magic. The kiss that followed was fierce, bodies pressing against the counter, a reclaiming. But as they frosted stars and bells, Ethan's phone lit up again. Not Riley, this time, but Lydia. Bored sniffing. Rumors of Vantage poach. Riley's name attached. Call me. The color drained from Ethan's face. He stepped onto the terrace, door clicking shut, voice low and lethal as he paced. Alex watched from the window, heart twisting. The man who'd unbuttoned for him now buttoning up, armor snapping back. When he returned, the holiday warmth had chilled. Nothing, he said, too quick. Just preemptive strikes. Liar. Alex's voice was soft, but the word landed like a slap. Talk to me. We're in this, remember? Ethan deflated, sinking onto the sofa. Vantage is circling. Riley's feeding them intel, old grudges, new angles. If it hits the street. He trailed off, hands fisting in his lap. I built this from scraps. Can't let it burn. Then don't fight alone. Alex knelt before him, hands on knees, echoing their first real touch. Let me in. All the way. The confession came in fragments. Riley's charm offensive, the leaked email chain proving sabotage, the board's whispers of instability. Ethan had confronted him that afternoon. A terse call ending in threats of lawsuits, but Riley's laugh had been venom. You always were too soft, Ethan. That's why I left. And why you'll lose. By nightfall, the storm raged, winds howling like banshees against the glass. They dressed for the building's holiday soiree. A smaller affair, tenants mingling in the lobby lounge, but the joy had frayed. Ethan was magnetic as ever, charming the super's wife with tales of silicon dreams. But Alex saw the strain. The forced smiles, the glances at his watch. When a tipsy neighbor clapped Ethan on the back. Heard you're the big shot upstairs. Congrats on that Forbes nod. Ethan's nod was wooden, eyes flicking to Alex with apology. Back in the penthouse, the tree lights mocked them, twinkling on tinsel they'd hung with hope. Alex poured eggnog, spiking it heavy, and they sat on the floor, backs to the tree skirt. Merry Christmas, Alex toasted, clinking mugs, but the words tasted ash. Ethan pulled him close, face buried in Alex's neck. I'm sorry, this us. It's the only win this week feels like. Then fight for it. Alex tilted his chin up, eyes fierce. Riley's a shadow. You're the light. Their lovemaking that night was urgent. A bomb against the gale, bodies entwined on the rug, breaths mingling with carols from the radio. Each touch a vow. Afterward, sated and spent, Ethan whispered plans. Beef up security, lawyer up, maybe even go public with the threat to flush Riley out. With you here, I can. Sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with code and snow. But at 3 a.m., the buzzer shattered it. A delivery, the doorman said, marked urgent. Ethan, bleary-eyed in sweats, signed for the envelope. Plain, unmarked, Riley's scrawl on the front. Inside photos, not just any snaps of them. Alex and Ethan at the market, kissing on the bench, entering the building hand in hand. Grainy, time-stamped, with a note. Cute. But leverage is leverage. Back off the suit or these hit the tabloids. Your empire's glass closet, E. Betrayal hit like the storm's core. Riley, not just corporate snake, but stalker, weaponizing their fragile joy. Ethan's face crumpled, photos scattering like confetti from hell. He knew. Followed us. God, Alex, I'm so sorry. I dragged you into this. Alex's stomach roiled, fury and fear churning. We fight back. Together. But Ethan pulled away, walls slamming up. You should go. Before it touches you too. The words were a knife twisting deep. Don't push me out because you're scared. I'm protecting you. Ethan's voice cracked. Raw. This life it devours. I can't lose you to my mess. The argument escalated, voices rising over the wind. Accusations flying. Ethan's pride, Alex's naivety. The ghost between them twisting every word. You think this is fairy tale? Ethan shouted. Wake up. I'm poison. And you're running. Alex fired back, tears hot. Just like your dad. Like Riley made you. The slap of truth silenced them. Ethan recoiled, eyes shattered glass. Alex grabbed his coat, storming to the door, but paused, hand on the knob. Call me when you're done being a martyr. The elevator descent was agony. Snow-slick streets swallowing him as he flagged a cab home. Bushwick greeted like an old bruise. The walk-up's flickering hall light, Javier snoring on the couch amid takeout boxes. Alex collapsed into bed, chest heaving, the photo's glare burned behind lids. Betrayal wasn't just Riley's. It was Ethan's fear, pushing him away when they needed each other most. Across town, Ethan stared at the scattered evidence, the tree lights mocking his solitude. He'd won empires, but lost the one battle that mattered. Dawn broke gray, the storm spent, but the real tempest brewed. A choice between armor and heart, before the world tore it all down. New Year's Eve crept in on a hangover of regret. The city scrubbing clean under plows and salts, but Alex's world stayed mired. He crashed at Javier's, dodging questions with half-truths, holiday fling gone sideways, and threw himself into shifts at the cafe, steaming lattes till his hands blistered, the hiss of the machine drowning the echo of Ethan's voice. Calls went unanswered. Texts, a one-way street of miss you met with silence. The photos haunted Riley's noose, tightening with each tabloid tease. Tech Titan's secret sleigh ride? Buried in page 6 fluff, but enough to stir the vultures. Javier cornered him on the 30th, over greasy slices at Luigi's. Spill, hermano. You look like you lost a bet with fate. Alex caved, the story tumbling. The party, the spill, the week of wonders, the blow-up. Javier whistled low. CO drama? That's novella gold. But running? Nah. Fight dirty if you gotta. The advice stuck, fermenting through the eve's chaos. Times Square's crush on TV, champagne toasts with strangers in the bar. At midnight, as confetti rained virtual, Alex fired off a text. New year, new start. But ours isn't done. Call. No reply. By the second, desperation clawed. He hailed a cab uptown, heart hammering, the doorman waving him up with a sympathetic nod. Mr. Hale's been a ghost. The penthouse door yielded to his knock, ajar like an invitation or trap. Ethan looked wrecked. Unshaven, shirt untucked, the tree half dismantled, ornaments in boxes like discarded dreams. Doesn't matter. Alex stepped in, shedding coat, the space between them a chasm bridged by will. I'm here, not leaving till we fix this. Ethan's laugh was shattered. Fix? Riley lawyered up, claims the photos are art, protected speech. Board circling. Stock dipped 3 points on the rumors. And me? I pushed you away because you're the first real since the fall, and I can't. You can. Alex closed the gap, hands framing Ethan's face, thumbs brushing stubble. We're not them. Not your dad, not Riley. Us. The dam broke then. Ethan collapsing into him, sobs muffled against Alex's shoulder, the weight of empires and isolation pouring out. They sank to the floor, right there in the foyer, holding on as if the world hinged on it. Words came halting. Ethan's fear of the closet's ghost, the board's old-school whispers, Riley's taunt that love made him weak. Alex countered with truths, his own scars from a father who vanished, the grit that glued him whole. Weaks letting fear win, strongs choosing us. By dawn, plans coalesced over takeout foe, steam curling like resolve. Ethan looped in Lydia, her shark grin over video. About time, boss. I've got dirt on Riley thicker than his browser history. They went public, strategic. A press release framing the leak as corporate espionage, photos as harassment, Ethan outing the threat without confirming the personal. Tabloids flipped. Hale fights back. From bedroom blackmail to boardroom battle. Stock rebounded. Riley's empire of lies crumbled under subpoenas. But the real victory was quieter. They rebuilt, brick by tender brick. Therapy sessions for Ethan, unpacking the betrayal's barnacles. Walks where Alex shared his mom's letters, dreams of a cafe of his own. Ethan mentored not handouts but intros to investors, a sterling internship that felt earned. Spring thawed the snow, blooming cherry trees in the park where they'd kissed, their hands linked unapologetic. Summer brought heat waves and heat of another kind. Lazy Sundays on the terrace, grilling ribs Ethan charred to perfection, laughter chasing the grill smoke. Alex enrolled in business classes, Ethan's quiet pride a steady flame. Fall painted the city gold, and on the anniversary of that spilled champagne, Ethan knelt in the plaza's ballroom, rented private, jazz trio on standby. Not a ring, but a key to a Bushwick brownstone, half-renovated, space for Alex's cafe dream. Not saving you, Ethan said, voice thick. Partnering. For the long haul. Alex pulled him up, kiss sealing it under the same chandelier. To wrong tables, and right everything after. The empire stood, but their world, small, fierce, woven of spills and storms, endured. In a city that chewed dreams, they'd built one unbreakable. Two boys from nothing, choosing each other over the fall. Human, flawed, and utterly defiantly alive. As winter circled back, snow dusting the brownstone stoop, Alex flipped the cafe sign. Rivera Brew, open, Ethan beside him, arm around his waist. The bell jingled, first customer a familiar face. Javier, grinning. Told you, novella gold. Outside, the city hummed its eternal song, but inside, amid the aroma of fresh espresso and cinnamon, they carved their piece. A humanistic hymn to love's quiet rebellions, where betrayal's sting faded to scar, and hope, once spilled, bloomed eternal.